Welcome to Verbling. The marbles out of my mouth. Verbling. Hi, I'm teacher Oakley, and in this class we're going to continue a little 3-day series at this time slot here on Verbling, looking at the simple tenses. Yesterday we looked at the present simple. Today we're going to look at the past simple. Tomorrow we'll be looking at future simple. First of all, real quickly, how it's formed, how it looks in sentences, and then we'll look at the different uses of the simple past, and you, the students, will practice forming an example sentence which illustrates or shows that particular use that we're talking about. That's the game plan. So let me quickly welcome students to the class, and we'll get started. Hello, Heidi, again.
Hello, nice to see you again.
As always. Okay, and Jorge has joined us again. Hi, Jorge.
Hi.
Hi. And Marcus, are you in? Look like Marcus, are you there?
Hello, teacher. How are you?
Hi.
How are you?
Okay. Looked like you were having some trouble getting connected, but it looks like you sound good now.
Thank you.
Okay. Plenty of material and plenty of practice to be done, so let's get started. Any other students want to join the class? Just jump in anytime. It's perfectly okay by me, but we're going to get started. So I'm going to do a screen share and kind of start talking to you guys about using the simple past. The form for regular verbs is we simply add the ed to the main infinitive form of the verb, the base verb. Or, of course, we have irregular verbs, and you just, unfortunately, have to learn those as we go. And the fact is that most of your more commonly used verbs are, in fact, often irregular verbs. I'm sure we will run into several of them in the lesson. In a sentence, as an example, this is what it looks like. Call, for example, is a regular verb. You, subject noun, called Debbie, object noun. You does the action happens to Debbie. You called Debbie. That's it. Now, notice that when we form a question in the simple past or a negative, we're going to need some help from auxiliary verb did. Now the verb do, did, can be a main verb, but it functions in the present simple in questions and negatives as an auxiliary, and in the past simple, again, obviously as an auxiliary. So here is the form. Did you call Debbie? Notice the auxiliary in a question is going to precede the subject noun. Okay. If you need to add another question word, for example, maybe let's say when, then that will go in front. When did you call Debbie? And then the same order, the auxiliary, subject noun, and then the main verb. Notice that the main verb is not in the past tense. The past tense is indicated by the past tense of the auxiliary did. Instead of do, present tense, do or does, past tense did. And of course in the negative, regular sentence but negative, you did not call Debbie, not following the first auxiliary, and in spoken English we're usually going to say didn't. You didn't call Debbie, which is the contracted form. Okay, those are the basics. So now we're going to look at the uses, and then after I explain them briefly, you guys are going to try to form your own sentences to show that usage. Before we do so, we've had a couple folks join us, so I just want to do a little microphone check and say hello to Angelina.
Hello.
Hello, welcome to the class.
Yeah, good to see you again.
Thank you. Likewise. And Francisco is also back with us.
Hi, teacher. Here again.
Hi again. Good to have you. Okie doke. Let's look at use number 1. And the most common use, the most basic use of the simple past, a complete or finished action in the past. Very simple, little illustrative diagram here, very basic. An action started and finished at a specific time in the past. It is over. It is done with. It is not continuing. If the action is continuing until now or has a strong influence on now, that's when we're going to use the present perfect tense. So often students get confused simple past or present perfect. Sometimes, many times you don't have a choice. Sometimes you have a choice as the speaker or writer if you want to use simple past or you want to use present perfect. The choice of simple past, I have to emphasize, is that this action is finished, done, over. You don't really care about it anymore. It's not, okay, it's done. Okay, and when we form a sentence with simple past, we will often help the listener or reader by including a time phrase to make it obvious that this is a past finished action. We don't have to. It's not a rule. It does help, and it makes it clearer. But it's not necessary. But even if you do not write or speak a time phrase, it's accepted that the speaker has a specific time in mind in the past. Okay, let's look at a few examples, and then you guys can use these as a template to create your own. I saw a movie yesterday. Yesterday is very obviously in the past. Or negatively, I didn't see a play yesterday. Last year, I traveled to Japan. Last year, I didn't travel to Korea. Okay. Okay. And just really quickly, a phrase, a time phrase that often confuses students. Last year, and then the another phrase, in the last year. There is a difference. Okay, this phrase, in the last year, often trips up English language learners. When I say last year, I mean 2014. So that is finished. The year 2014 is done with. So past simple, as in the examples. But when I use in the last year, I'm talking about 365 days backwards from right now. So in that case, I have to use a present perfect tense. As in, I have traveled to Japan, let's say. Okay. All right, so, and the same thing goes for other very similar phrases. Last month, last week, in the last week, in the last month. All right, same idea. So don't be aware of that. Don't get tripped up with these time phrases. Did you have dinner last night? Okay. She washed her car. Now, here we go. Here's one where we're not actually mentioning any specific time, but it can be assumed. When I hear she washed her car, I would immediately assume that this is definitely a finished action. Okay, let's try this most basic use of the simple past. Heidi?
Yesterday, a black dog barked at me.
Whoops. Okay. All right. Perfect. Very simple. Bark is a regular verb. Just add ed. All right. Simple enough. Jorge.
Um, I I took a lesson yesterday.
Okay. All right. Well, very simple. Obviously finished action. All right. Easy enough. Marcus, can you give me an example? Finished action in the past.
Okay. In last week, I I worked a lot.
Weeks. Okay. I worked a lot. Okay. Okay. Again. Okay. Marcus, exactly what I was warning you about. Really, first of all, it should be in the last 2 weeks because you know exactly which 2 weeks you're talking about. All right. In the last 2 weeks, plural. See, this is going to have to be because in the last week mean up until right this minute. So this is going to have to be present perfect. All right. Okay. So
Thank you.
not going to work. Now, if you wanted to say, whoops. If you wanted to say last week is over. All right. It's where are we? I don't know what day it is where you are, but where I am, it's Tuesday. Last week would be considered over. Okay, last week I worked a lot. There, that last week is over. Past simple. Also, Marcus worked. Okay. All right. Quick note about the ed past tense pronunciation. I mean, I can do a whole class just on this, and I have. But briefly, these are the rules. You do not pronounce an extra syllable with the ed, not worked. The only time you say id or pronounce it as a separate vowel sound, like id, is when the verb ends with a T, letter T, or a letter D. Decide, decided. Wait, waited. That's the only time. Otherwise, you pronounce the ed simply as a D sound at the end whenever it's a voiced sound. That's a sound where you actually use your vocal cords like R and N and M. The ed is pronounced as a T for unvoiced sounds, like a K, K, okay, or a P, P, or an F, laughed, napped. Okay, unvoiced sound, wash. There's no voice. Shh, it's just air. Washed. And worked. So, okay.
Teacher,
Yes.
how do you pronounce the verb ask in past?
Okay. That's a very good question. Okay. Now, technically correct, all right? Asked would be pronounced like this. Asked. You actually do two you pronounce the K and the T. Technically speaking, that's what you do. However, most native speakers, and this is something that happens a lot in English, when we have 3 consonant sounds in a row, it's very common to either reduce or just drop entirely the middle sound. This actually happens quite a bit. So I would pronounce it with a slightly longer S, like this. Jorge asked me a question. All right, that's a reduced pronunciation.
Okay.
All right.
Yes.
Yep. Great.
Thank you.
Well, you're welcome, and thank you. It was a good question. Angelina, can you give me just a simple example of a finished action in the past?
I went to a Halloween party last weekend.
Did you? How was it?
It was nice. It was fun. I saw a lot of people wearing fun and cool costumes.
Cool. All right. What fun. All right. Very good. Last weekend is over. It's Tuesday. So this is perfectly, yeah, great example. It's obviously a finished action. Francisco, can you give me an example?
Okay, I bought a new computer.
Okay. Thank you. I was hoping somebody would attempt a sentence without using a time phrase, and you did. All right. Automatically, when Francisco says this, well, anyway, I bought. Usually, bought is not a long, dragged-out action. Some verbs, I mean, because of the verb itself, the definition is a single, abrupt, quick action. So it's quite clearly going to have to be, and you know that verb when that action happens. When it's over, it's over. So it's obviously in the past. So Francisco is using a verb where you would most commonly not bother to use a time phrase because it's unnecessary. It's very obvious that he's still not in the act of buying a new computer. It could be, I guess, I am buying a new computer. Maybe you're in the process of doing so. You could say that, but by not using a time phrase, it doesn't matter. If he says this, I would interpret this as it's a done deal. It's over. Okay, moving on to our second use. A series of completed actions. Now this is interesting. Okay. Now, sometimes this can be confused with the use of the past perfect verb tense because past perfect is used in a complex sentence or compound sentence where we want to show that one thing happened before another. But it's not always necessary to use a past perfect tense. There are ways to get around it. There are a few circumstances where you must use past perfect. But, for example, if you use the subordinators before or after, you don't really need to use past perfect. Or if you do this, you use the simple past in this way to show a series of completed actions. And it is understood that these actions happened in the order in which they're expressed. All right, first, second, third, fourth. So, for example, I finished work, walked to the beach, and found a nice place to swim. I can automatically assume this is the first thing you did, and then found a nice place to swim. Notice we don't need to say and then. This is also another common language learner mistake, trying to link together these activities or whatever by saying and then, which if you do it too much, it sounds very annoying. And it's not necessary, as we can see here. Okay. He arrived from the airport at 8, checked into the hotel at 9, and met the others at 10. The use of the actual times here makes it extremely obvious that this is a series. Notice the last example, question form. Did you add flour, pour in the milk, and then add the eggs? Okay, we can add then, usually for the last in a series. That's fine. Okay. obviously we're cooking, and it's important that we put the ingredients in the proper order. Usually the case when you're cooking. Okay, that's the idea. Let's see if you guys got it here. All right, Heidi, you want to give it a try?
Mm-hmm. Okay. Oh, when a black dog saw me, he barked at me. Then I showed my umbrella. He ran away.
Okay, wait a minute. Whoops. Yeah? Okay, wait a minute. It's a long one. Okay. Okay. All right, let's take a look here. Notice, okay, see, saw. Okay, when the black dog saw me, he barked at me. Oh, yeah, okay. All right. Then I showed him my umbrella and he ran away. Okay. Okay. You've added subordinators when and also then to make it clear, and there's nothing wrong with that, all right? There really isn't. It is actually possible to just say, the black dog saw me, but he barked at me, I showed him my umbrella, and he ran away. Like that. You don't even need to... The subordinators help, and they make it a little bit clearer, so it's not wrong. But you don't even really need to do that, to just list the series of events as they happened. Okay. All right, Jorge, you want to give it a try?
Sure, thanks. Today I saw that it was 8 o'clock.
I saw what?
I turned on. I saw that it was 8 o'clock.
Mm-hmm.
I turned on my computer. And started taking my class.
Okay. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, perfect. Okay, very obvious and very clear that you did one thing and then the next, and then the next. And okay, that's great. Even though he's using today, it's very obvious that this is in the past and already happened and that it's finished, and here he is in the class. So good job. Marcus, you want to give it a try?
Yes, teacher. Okay. He worked until late yesterday.
What? I worked? He worked?
He worked.
Okay. Worked.
He worked until late yesterday. And worked all last week, and as well, and he very tired.
Okay. Can you help me out again? Back up a little. He worked until late yesterday. And
okay, and worked all last week.
Worked out.
As well, and he very tired.
Okay, let's fix this up a little. Okay. All right. Now, okay, this doesn't quite. He's yesterday, then last week. Okay, and then he's tired. Okay, it's not really a series of actions. This is okay. Being tired isn't an action. That's a stative. That's his state. So you could add that after by saying instead of as well as, maybe so he was very tired. Okay, now this would be okay to add so he was very tired to talk about a series of actions. But Marcus, first is going to be first. Okay. So instead of last week being second, that would have to be first. Okay. You know, just to change it slightly so. Okay. Do you mean worked out like exercise? Like exercise, workout in the gym?
Yes.
Okay. He worked until late yesterday. Okay. Now here, I would definitely add and then worked out. Okay. If I wanted to do a list, all right, this is when I would do it this way. All right. So because it's a result, so he was very tired. He worked out. He worked until late yesterday and then worked out. Okay. If you wanted to list things, okay, he worked until late yesterday. Ran some errands, and then worked out. Okay, here's a list of events. Now this is, all right, a list of actions, first, second, third, fourth. That's showing a series, okay? You see what we're doing? So the main problem, Marcus, is that your series has to be the oldest thing first, and then next, and then next. Okay, so it has to be in order, or else it doesn't work. Okay, that's the main point. Angelina, you want to give it a try?
Sure. I got so upset at my boyfriend. I grabbed my key, took my jacket, and slammed the door.
Okay. Okay. Ow. I grab my jacket.
My key.
Okay.
My key, took my jacket, and slammed the door.
Okay, I got upset at my boyfriend. Okay, all right. I want to look at something here. Notice the listing here. I'm not adding another subject noun, so it's not another clause. I finished work here. I walked to the beach. It's still I is the subject noun. So this is a subject, verb, verb, verb. This is what we're doing. Subject, he arrived, checked in, met. Did you add, pour, add? Okay, so, all right, so we don't need to we don't need to repeat the subject noun. In fact, we don't need to at all. So this I is unnecessary here completely. All right, I got upset at my boyfriend, grabbed my key, took my jacket, slammed the door. Okay. Another point, it does 3 actions, 4 actions, 3,742 actions. There are actually no rules in English about how long a sentence can be. Okay. Of course, no one is going to read your sentence or listen to you if you have a 3,400,072 word sentence. No one's going to pay any attention to you. But there actually is no rule. So she's got 4 different actions. That's fine. Doesn't really matter. All right. Francisco, you want to give this a try? Let me quickly welcome a new student, Juan Gabriel. Hello.
Hello.
Hello. Nice to have you with us. Just hang on. I'm going to talk to Francisco, and then I'll talk to you. Francisco, you want to give it a try?
Okay. My uncle visited Las Vegas last year. Even though
Sorry, again?
even though
Even though? Okay. Hello? Did I lose you? Oopsie. Hello? Francisco? Da, 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 da. I don't know where he was going with that. Hello?
okay.
Oh, yeah, there you are. Okay. Hello?
Okay, my uncle visited Las Vegas last year, even though he spent a lot of money. No, even though he spent
He
a lot of
is
money.
he is paid?
No, even though he is spent.
Spent. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
Even
okay.
though he
Yeah.
spent a lot of money. He brought us some presents.
Okay. Well, let's take a look. All right. My uncle visited Las Vegas last year. That's obviously a finished action. Okay. If you're going to combine this clause beginning with even though, I would definitely probably use and here. And even though he spent a lot of money. See, be careful about adding a vowel sound in front of spent. You kept saying spent, spent, spent. I thought you were saying is paid or something like that. It wasn't coming across. Be careful about adding an extra vowel sound in front of S's. All right. And even though he spent a lot of money, he bought us some presents. All right. Well, okay. I don't know if this is really illustrating a series of events. This happened, and then this happened, and this happened. This is just two, like the first, you've just got 2 clauses with 2 finished events. That's it. It's not really a series. 2 finished events. I don't really know. Obviously, he bought the presents while he was visiting Las Vegas. I don't really know. It's kind of inside. It's not one happened, then the other happened, then the other happened. All right? Your sentence is not incorrect, but it does not illustrate the idea of a series of actions in the past, like this. I finished work, walked to the beach, and found a nice place to swim. I very clearly know the order here. Okay. So it doesn't quite illustrate our usage we're trying to look at.
Okay.
It's correct sentence, but I don't know what order any of this happened. I don't know if he bought you presents and then spent a lot of money, and then bought presents. I don't really know. Okay. Juan, I'm trying to have students form a sentence to show a series of events using past simple. For example, I finished work, walked to the beach, and found a nice place to swim. This indicates you did one, then another, and then another. Would you like to try to form a sentence that illustrates that usage? Juan?
Okay.
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 Great. Go ahead, please.
Today it was a cold day.
Okay. Again, I'm going to stop you right there. Okay. This usage is concerned with actions. It was
Okay.
cold is not an action.
Okay.
Now, you can use that and then start another series of actions. You know, today was a cold day, so I grabbed my hat, grabbed my coat, and put on my boots. There you go. Then I know, okay, fine. You did first your hat, then your coat, then your boots. Okay.
Okay.
That being the idea.
Okay.
Okay?
I got it.
Okay. Try it again.
This week I'm on vacation, so I visited my parents.
So I was up. Sorry?
Visited my parents.
Visited. Be careful. Your V.
Visited
Uh-huh.
my parents. Then I went out with them.
Okay. All right. First of all, this week you need a verb. You can't just say I on vacation. So, verb to be, perhaps?
Yeah,
This
I am
week-
on vacation.
There you go. Okay, this is present tense, showing basically now. You cannot say I am being on vacation. It's not possible because the verb to be is a mixed verb. You can't use it as continuous. So this is talking about now. All right, so I visited my parents, even though he's using this week. If that's okay, I visited my parents. I know that he's done visiting his parents now. It's automatically what this means to me. So even though you're saying this week I'm on vacation, all right, doesn't matter. I visited my parents, then I went out with them. Okay. Okay, here's the deal. One, it's not necessary then to use then I, because the idea is we're listing here and went out with them like that. All right.
All right.
Basically, the idea here, let me reiterate because I don't think everybody gets it. A series of completed actions. You're listing things that happened. I finished work, walked to the beach, found a nice place to swim. He arrived from the airport, checked in, met the others. Okay, you're just listing phrases that happened. We can get away with this to show that this series happened in the order in which you place them in the sentence. Okay, so it's not necessary to create, it's not wrong necessarily to create these subordinate clauses using subordinators and other, and then, and when, and all of that. It's not necessarily wrong, but it's totally not necessary in this specific use. The idea is to show a series. Okay, let's move on to the next usage. Duration in the past. Okay, so we can talk about a duration, but notice the graph here. This is extremely important. It started in the past, it finished in the past. All right. Sometimes we will include phrases like for 2 years, for 5 minutes, all day, all year, whatever, to express the idea of a length of time or a duration of time. So this is also possible. For example, I lived in Brazil for 2 years. They sat at the beach all day. Okay. Shauna studied Japanese for 5 years. All right, you may preemptively ask a question. Why do we not use continuous tense if we want to emphasize the idea of duration? Well, there's a couple reasons. All right. First of all, we don't really need to. It's not wrong to say I was living, past continuous, in Brazil for 2 years. What is the difference? If we use the past simple to show duration, we're going to have to use one of these time phrases. That's one difference. Okay, to make it clear that the duration, all day for 30 minutes, whatever, you have to use a time phrase if you're going to use past simple to do this. Secondly, by choosing to use past simple, as opposed, sometimes you have a choice, past simple, past continuous. By choosing to use a continuous tense, you're emphasizing the verb, the action. Very common to use, for example, to use the verb wait with the ing form or continuous form because you're emphasizing the action and the duration. If you use a simpler form, then you're emphasizing the result of the action is more important to the speaker. This is a general idea, not just for past simple, but for all tenses. When you have a choice between a continuous tense and a simpler tense, the continuous tense emphasizes the action, the other tense, whatever it is, emphasizes the result. That's another reason. Okay. They sat at the beach all day. If I get rid of all day, they sat at the beach, well, it's just, I would conceive of that as like a, I don't know how long they were sitting at the beach, 5 seconds, whatever. The important thing is it's a finished action. I can add this phrase to make it obvious that it's this, a duration. All right. When a native speaker native speaker uses past simple and doesn't include a time phrase of duration, it's just conceived of, the listener or reader just hears it as done. That's done. And that's the idea, the main idea. Okay. Okay, let's give this a try. See if you can. We're kind of running out of time to get through the material, so just try to keep it simple if you can. Heidi, you want to give this a try?
I stayed in the coffee shop for a while until the rain ceased.
Okay. Okay. I'm sorry, but until the rain ceased. Okay. Well, all right. I'll add it. But it's not necessary. Actually, I just wanted to point out this is a useful phrase and very, very common for conversational English speakers for a while. It's very common to use this phrase to indicate exactly this, duration. This is very commonly used with the past simple to show that the idea that you were there for, for a duration. Okay. Great. All right. Jorge.
Yes.
Give it a try.
Yeah. This morning I watched TV for 30 minutes.
Okay. That's it. Very good. Yes, exactly. Excellent. Good. Okay, Angelina.
I talked to him for 2 hours.
That's it. Okay. Great. Perfect. All right, Francisco.
Okay, the soccer match is stopped for 50 minutes.
50 or 15?
15.
Okay. Be very careful with your numbers there, teen numbers. 50, all right, 50, 50. You first syllable stress. 15. You need to over stress a little bit so that your listener can differentiate between 1-5 and 50. Don't be afraid to exaggerate that, especially
Okay.
if you're on the phone doing business and you're getting price quotes. You want to make sure you know the difference between 50 and 515.
Okay,
Okay,
15.
but yeah, your usage is exactly correct. Okay, great. Juan, you want to give it a try? Juan, are you there? Hello, Juan, are you there? I think I might have lost him there. Okay. Use number 4, habits in the past. Look at the diagram, something that you used to do. In fact, native speakers are very fond of using used to. Why? Because it's a lot easier. If you're going to use the simple past, then you kind of have to explain it. More often than not, used to, by the way, is a construction in the simple past. It is the simple past. Native speakers frequently and largely will use this to talk about habits in the past or things that were true in the past but are no longer true now, or habits or things you did regularly that you no longer do now. It's really native speakers, if they have a choice, they're going to use used to. However, if you want to express this idea of a habit in the past, and for some reason you don't want to use used to, you must make it clear through other language. So you have to use other expressions, like always, often, when I was a child, when I was younger, whatever. Some of these examples are not right. I studied French when I was a child. Okay, that illustrates the usage. The next sentence, however, is not good. He played the violin. I have no idea. For me, actually, this sentence, he played the violin, maybe last night. He played a song on the violin. I have no idea that this means that this was a habit. This is bad. This is extremely bad. It doesn't work. So if we don't have some kind of phrasing, then as a native speaker, I personally would automatically assume that that is a one-time finished action. That is the natural default position, by the way. If it's not made clear through time phrases or what have you, then the natural default position for simple past, what I would conceive, is that it's just a finished action, and that's it. Because that is the first and foremost basic usage. So this means nothing to me. I mean, I have no idea, but all I know is that at one point he played, I don't know if he, one time, a long time, 5 minutes, 17 hours, I have no idea. All I know is it's finished. He didn't play the piano. Again, same thing. It doesn't make sense to me in regards to this usage. You've got to add some kind of phrases. Did you play a musical instrument when you were a kid? To make it obvious you're talking about a habit in the past. And by the way, not just a habit in the past, I mentioned used to also to talk about things that were true or not true. Okay, were teachers very strict when you were a child, okay? Something that, not really a habit, but was a fact. Was the country as polluted when you were a child? Okay, a fact that's not true now, or that has changed now. The same idea. But I still need these phrases. After school, they never went to school, they always skipped class. Now, okay, they never went to school, they always, oh, we've got always here. All right. This, and just the idea they went to school can be assumed it's in the past. Okay, again, native speakers, if they 9 times out of 10, they're going to say used to, really, because it's a lot easier. All right, same thing, past facts or generalizations, that's what I just said. It's no longer true. Again, the same idea. As a child, he didn't like tomatoes before. Okay, something that was a fact when you were a kid. Even simple phrases like in the past. People paid much more to make cell phone calls in the past. So, the same way we use used to, but you have to really define it. That's the idea here. Okay, maybe we'll come back to that in a second. I just want to make another point before we run out of time about when clauses. Clauses are groups of words. We have dependent and independent clauses. An independent clause is a complete sentence, and a dependent clause needs some help from another independent clause in order to form a sentence. Very, 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 very common subordinator or beginning to a dependent clause is when. For example, when I dropped my pen, or when class began, whatever. These are called when clauses, all right, and they are really, really commonly used in English. But there's an important point to consider. When I paid her $1, she answered my question. Heidi, what happened first? Pay her $1 or answer your question?
First, she ignored him.
Yeah. Okay, but then he whipped out $1, so she was... Okay, which happens first? Paying $1?
Paying $1.
That's right.
And after, she answered.
That's it. Exactly. And it doesn't matter. Clauses like this can be reversed, and it's not a problem. For example, she answered my question when I paid her $1. That still means you paid her the $1 first, then she answered the question. The when clause comes first. Okay. And that's the idea. They always happen first when both clauses are in the simple past. Okay. So it's really the same thing. So I paid her $1 when she answered my question, reverses it. That means she answered the question, then you gave her $1. All right, so you have two clauses in the simple past, always the clause with when, that's the action that occurs first. Actually, I think Heidi used this earlier in the lesson when we were trying to do a series of events. She used when, and that's fine because that for sure indicates that's the first thing that happened. Absolutely. Okay, just we're kind of running out of time, so I want to quickly show you the passive of the past simple. Okay, active sentences. We've all been using active sentences all class. All right, Tom repaired the car. Fine. In the passive form, notice that our object noun, in the active form, Tom does the action, he's the subject. The car, the action is performed or done to the car. That's our object noun. In a passive, the car is now the subject, but nevertheless, the action happens to the car or to the subject. The car was repaired by Tom. This prepositional phrase, by Tom, is not even necessary in a passive. We don't even need it, only if we want to indicate who did the action. We use a passive because we don't care who did the action, or it's very obvious who did the action, or we don't know who did the action. All right, the construction of the passive. Repaired here is not actually past tense. It's actually the past participle of the verb. All passives, the main verb will be the past participle of the verb. And then whatever's in front of it, using the verb to be, is going to indicate the actual verb tense. In this case, if you saw was by itself, the car was small, I understand that this is past simple. Okay, so this actually indicates the verb tense. Okay, let's maybe see if we can have somebody give us a quick. Heidi, can you do a quick passive?
Okay, passive. Okay.
Yeah.
The dog was bitten by me.
Okay. Bitten by me. There. And now you can.
Finally.
Now you can clearly see that this is the past participle. Bite, present tense. Bit, past tense. Bitten, past participle. Okay, so it's an irregular verb, and here we have the past by me. Okay. Okay, that's it. Very good. All right. Jorge, you want to give it a quick try? A quick passive? We've just got a couple minutes.
The class was given by Oakley.
Okay. All right. Very good. In this case, it's going to be, you know, most likely you're going to include this by phrase, this kind of information, because of the context. It may be kind of important who gave the class. All right. Angelina, you want to try a quick passive?
The computer was messed up by him. No,
Okay.
messed up by him.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I was just, it made me pause because messed up can be an adjective, right? Yeah, something is messed up. He has messed up hair, like that. It can be an adjective. Okay, but it can also be a phrasal verb. So since you're actually including by him, yeah, that's okay. All right, Francisco, you got a quick one before we go?
Okay. America was discovered by Columbus.
Actually, that's not true. He says that. Okay. Okay, great, but it is definitely perfect use of the past simple passive. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. I'm going to go enjoy my lunch. You guys enjoy whatever you got to go enjoy. Bye for now. Thank you.
Thank you.